did not.
Yeah. The grant money ran out.
Because I had thought from
How
this
much was, I
provide,
don't even recall that in the budget discussion is,
It never, it was never proposed in terms of a funding priority of the
Yeah.
department. So it never even came before the board in terms of something that we should fund. It's probably been out for at least, this is probably the second year that we haven't had that service.
I'd like to know how much it costs. 'Cause I
The
think I
schools
would
do
have liked
it.
to be consulted
The
with.
schools have
Yeah,
it.
The schools have it.
Yeah, the schools do,
right,
but,
the snow
I'm
cost.
sure they can give us
Those schools.
the cost.
Doesn't happen too often.
but you know.
We can get that
but-
pretty
Yeah,
quickly.
just, to me, I think that's a pretty useful tool.
I agree.
To
But
have
not
at our
only
disposal,
this kind of
depending upon
thing,
the
but
cost
other-
there, but
Other-
still.
Right. Most serious issues.
It'd be worthwhile knowing what that cost is.
I'll have that for you for your next meeting.
Because I was mistaken, I thought we had it, we just didn't think this rose to a level where
I-
it should be used.
I don't want to prolong the meeting any longer, but I just want to state that I am concerned though. And you guys saw my message on this. I am concerned about the infrastructure. Very early in the year, I understand other towns are now finally starting to have some water restrictions, but we seem to be very early out of the gate on it, which was good, which is great that we were on the,
Well, if you saw the list, there were a lot of them that went into effect in May.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I just
so-
want to make sure that we don't have an infrastructure issue, though. I mean, I think it's at least worth asking Dick if the infrastructure we have in place is adequate for our town. A lot of people built new homes in this town, spent thousands and thousands of dollars on landscape, and if it's just going to become a common thing where they cannot water very expensive landscaping, we at least needed to let people know. I mean, if this is something that's going to be common, you have to take into account the investment these people have made.
Yeah,
And if you guys say the infrastructure is adequate and it's perfect for this town,
Well, if,
we need to tell them that, we need to move on.
It's not perfect, we know. We will have
Okay,
to buy
well-
water from Andover.
wasn't this issue initially created due to the two pumps that broke at this time of year, that we lost water and we can't fill it up?
I think,
I'm
no, but yes, I think that
Yeah,
that
that
came
was a
up
big
first as an
factor.
issue, and then,
That got
it
us
really wasn't.
behind.
That got us behind.
Right,
And then the
But-
weather came along and
No, but
the flow is.
the issue was that, once those things were repaired, and over a daily cycle, the water drop wasn't recovered.
Right.
Which said that, over a period of time of a number of days of that repeating, we're gonna drain the tanks way down.
Yeah, but
So in other words-
if this had happened 2 months ago, we wouldn't have this problem. We would not have had this problem. That's how they
No,
presented
you
it.
would have had the problem, but it
But it would have recovered.
wouldn't have
It
been
would
an
have
issue
recovered.
because, well, depending on how many days, right? If you're losing 10 feet of recovery every day, right? So you're going down so many feet, eventually you get to the critical level. In this case, because of the failures, we hadn't got the tanks filled back up.
Right.
That's not what Dick said.
It occurred,
We asked him that question. He
Yeah,
said they made the repair, they actually filled the tanks all the way to the top, and then people were drawing the water with the lawn sprinklers, and that's what brought it
That's
down.
not
It
what
was
I
nothing to do,
No, I didn't.
Nothing to do with what?
there was no effect on the failures they had on the system that has caused
then
this.
why
I
did
don't
they
agree.
even bring
No.
it up?
No, I don't
No,
I
that's
think
not
that
what
was
he
one
said.
of my questions, why would he bring it? Because when he was quizzed about it, Dick was quizzed about it, Mark, they said that the repairs were made, it recovered,
Right.
but because of the usage being up, the anticipated long spell with no
Right.
recovery,
Right.
we were looking at this problem.
Right.
But we had dropped because of the problem they had with the pumps.
Right.
But it
That was the
recovered.
initial
Hadn't-
drop.
They had not, my understanding was they hadn't filled the tanks back up.
That's
Maybe
not
I'm wrong.
what I heard.
Right.
Well,
Right.
I thought
Doesn't
they
matter.
Because I was confused as to why
Yeah,
he
your
brought it up,
issue-
because he brought up the issue in relation to the pumps, and then said, but it really isn't an issue. I said, okay, why don't we bring it up?
Right. That's why I'm asking, is this an infrastructure problem? I'm just asking,
Yes,
it's
there
probably
is-
worth to go back and talk to Dick about
There
it.
is an infrastructure problem. It's been here. We do not have adequate water but that isn't any different than many other
From an infrastructure
communities.
standpoint, we have sufficient infrastructure to deliver the water. We haven't got enough water supply without purchasing it from Andover in order to deliver.
Well, even that one pipe isn't obviously enough.
But it's,
That's all I have to say.
but we've been making major investments in our infrastructure for years with the water department. The water department is pretty much self-sufficient now, which is a good thing.
Oh, they were
And
excellent.
and able to handle the debt service, maintenance, repair, and upkeep, and investment in the infrastructure.
And that's the point I'm trying to make, is that these guys are trying to keep us alive, keep us running, and maybe we need to help them. Maybe we just need to ask them the question,
Well,
what is it they're missing?
I'm
Yeah, we've-
not
we've-
too concerned, overly concerned about the people who have big lawns. You know, I'm more concerned with, you know, delivering water to the households for household purposes and
Yeah,
fire protection
Me too.
than I am irrigation
Right.
systems. You know, someone who has a big lawn and needs to keep it green is not a priority for me, and I'm not about to make a huge investment
That's not what
to
I'm
ensure
saying.
that that could be done. You
No,
know, so
Steve,
it's-
that is not what I said. If
You
that's
said
the point
people
you're trying
made
to
a
make.
major investment in their landscaping and their lawns.
Yeah, but
and
that's
they-
not I'm not saying it should be a priority.
Right, I agree.
I'm just saying, if we're gonna continue on this trend, okay, we're only, what, 3-4 weeks into the summer? Right, we're gonna continue on this trend.
Well,
You have to
I
be at
mean,
least
Ma-
sensitive
Mike-
to the fact.
Mike, if you look back to history, right, we've had summers where things have been dry. We've had water shut-offs completely, we've had alternating days.
Yeah.
And then we've gone through years where no one even cared,
Right.
Mhm.
right? It was, you know, like last year, who cared, right?
Right.
The last couple of years.
Right.
Now we're going through a real hot spell, and lawns are gonna dry up, and, you know, we
So
don't have enough
What
adequate
you're saying is,
supply.
it's because the hot spell is the issue related to this, nothing to do with the infrastructure, essentially.
Well, I think, you know, we wouldn't be talking about wastewater and water, right? If we thought that we didn't have any problem at all. I mean, we've been under restrictions for water ever since the Ipswich River water basin and the Stickney well got shut down. And even with Andover,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
No, we've been
Yeah.
talking about wastewater, we haven't been talking about water, but we
Well,
need to talk about water.
we've been
And
talking
that's
about
why
water
I'm bringing it
recently
up. I
too.
wanna make sure it's documented, that if we have an infrastructure issue, it needs to be addressed, and we need to address it in our discussions in conjunction with wastewater.
Well, I think
Potentially.
you were there this morning, and
Oh, I
you
know,
were there,
but the people on the
2
other
weeks
side of
ago.
that camera don't know that.
well,
and
that's okay. They
We
don't-
need to give them some hope.
We don't have the ability to put in additional well sites. I mean, that's
I know.
regulated by the DEP, and the
No, we-
DEP says absolutely under no conditions will
In
North
fact,
Reading or
they
any
were
other
taking,
community.
they wanna
I
take
know
some
that.
away.
They've
Do it.
actually restricted us. And
So,
when the Stickney well went down years ago, we lost that capacity. The state didn't even allow us to sink another well to
Replace it.
replace that. You know, and we've been below what we were drawing 20 years ago, as a result of
We're using
DEP's
much more.
actions.
Right.
Because we're in the
I know.
Ipswich River Basin, and we took some action a long time ago
Let's-
at the interbasin transfer to
Let's,
Andover, so.
let's move
I
on.
just give me a chance to catch up. I mentioned the wells, the storage is sufficient. Matter of fact, during the winter months and everything, we have too much storage. The tanks don't turn over enough, there's stagnation in the water. But for an issue where we have this weather similar to this, we have adequate supply. The question is, are we gonna build infrastructure, storage capacity to catch those hot days or hot periods that come up, and what is the cost of that infrastructure? And it's substantial. So the question is, we can do it, we can build it, we can build additional storage capacity for those times when we have really hot weather, but you'll find out that in most instances, it's not necessary. It's really not necessary, except when you have a situation similar to this.
Next.
Some good news. We've been working on drafting a memorandum of understanding for the Route 62 culvert project. You recall, money was voted at the April town meeting. Capital project that allowed the town to proceed with the assistance of some federal grant money for the culvert replacement. One of the key pieces was putting together a memorandum of agreement between the two towns. We have a very brief memorandum of agreement that's been put together that Wilmington finds acceptable. It would be for a duration of 25 years. It would define who's responsible for the construction and what would be the terms of maintenance going forward of that culvert structure. I'd like to have it reviewed, obviously, by council, get your comments on it also, and once you are comfortable with it and town council is comfortable with it, then the document can come to you for formal ratification, and it can also be sent to Wilmington. If you look at the pages that are attached, you see some areas that are shaded, and you'll note that it's in consultation with the town of Wilmington, has been inserted. and Wilmington would like approval over the plans to rehabilitate the infrastructure. So, this is it. I think this is a document that's necessary for the project to go forward, and we should probably look within the next 30 days to have it finalized, get it back before you and before the Wilmington board to be voted and enacted.
Is this already reviewed by the town of Wilmington board?
By their administration.
Okay.
Yes, by their administration. It has not been acted on by their board. So at this level, it's only been reviewed by administration.
Okay.
Disappointed they're not, doesn't look like they're willing to share in the local cost of the project.
No, no. Now, how much, the fact that we got a grant may be a factor in terms of the fact that, you know, it's two communities, but they still should be sharing,
Sure.
especially where it's.
You know what? I'm not
That
overly
would kill
concerned
it,
about that
probably.
at all, because you know what, the effects on their community are minimal,
Yeah.
at all, if at all. It's the town of North Reading that's being affected by this, and the fact that they're willing to work with us to allow us to put some infrastructure in their community, to give grants and relief to our community, is huge.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the efforts that they're putting forth and willing to work with us on it. They're agreeing, or the proposal here says they're gonna agree to help maintain it and keep it clean and all the rest. That's terrific. You know, as far as sharing the cost with it, it's our problem that they're helping us solve. And I'm just grateful that, they don't have any obligation, other than, their resources are as limited as ours, and with the,
Oh, I don't
grant that's
think so.
available. What's that?
Their resources are much better than ours.
Well, their demands are greater than ours too, though. You know, along with the, tax base that they have, they also have some additional costs associated with that.
I mean, we
But
all,
anyway, I
we
think it's
agreed as a board to this project. Town meetings voted on it.
Yeah,
I
without
don't think
them,
we have to go revisit that.
without them being included in paying
No,
for
I
it.
know.
Because it's a substantial, positive impact on our community if we can get this thing done. This has been in the works for years. And, I'm just grateful that they're willing to work with us and allow us to get it done.
I'm kinda glad we got this grant. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, that's significant.
It's everything.
I mean,
It's huge,
I
but-
can remember being in Boston with Dave Hanlon, and he, I don't remember the director's name at the time, but it's when we were talking about we were in there for some reason, other than this discussion, and that person came up to Dave and brought it up again, and that had been going on for years, before then.
But, I don't wanna be the least bit critical of the town of Wilmington, because their efforts in working with us and getting this done is of the utmost importance to us. I think it's great. And, you know, if they could see their way clear to help us out, great, but I don't fault them if they don't. Because the impact to their community is negligible. The impact to ours is huge, positive, so I think it's great.
Next,
Next, the board has a copy of a lawsuit that town's been named as a co-defendant. It's a land court claim.
did you skip over this FEMA thing?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, let me catch up with it after the
Okay.
land court. You have a copy of the lawsuit.
I don't.
I don't think so.
I don't have one.
We
You
don't
don't
have.
have a copy?
Nope,
Nope.
we do not.
Well, that's not good. You're supposed to have copies of it.
Yep.
We didn't. Because I wasn't sure what you were talking about.
Right.
Well, that's not good. You're supposed to have copies of it.
Okay.
But let me refer to it, because it is a public record and a public document. The town's been named as a co-defendant along with a number of other defendants. And it's a land court claim, and it involves a paper street by the name of Elm Road.
Where is it?
It says off of Valley Road, talks about Deer Run subdivision.
Yep, right off Central Street.
So this is attempting for private property owners looking to clear up a cloud over their title, and the town has been summoned into this dispute. We will refer a copy of it to council, copy to our insurance company, because we have to respond in a timely manner, and I will make sure that you get copies of it. I apologize for that. I thought that,
Yeah, but CPC, I mean, that was a relatively new subdivision that went in.
We did provide a copy of this to CPC, because no
Yeah.
doubt they'll have to assist council in preparing the
I would
townscapes.
think, because that's not that old.
Are you talking about Valley Road?
Valley Road.
Yeah, it's brand new.
No, yeah.
Probably 8, 9 years old, right?
It's-
It's a
9, maybe
paper
10?
street off from Valley Road.
Yeah, there's a paper street that
all that.
exists. And that paper street traverses private property, and that's, as I understand, the issue of dispute.
So what do they wanna do? Have the paper street go away? I don't know. Let's just say that. Thanks.
Let me go back to number 3 on my list. Additional FEMA requests were submitted totaling $9,363 for expenses for the March and April floods. The total eligible expenses submitted now to FEMA is $211,000. And we are anticipating 75% reimbursement. All of the final documents due to FEMA will be submitted the week of July 19th. The vast majority of those documents are already in, and they already are submitted. However, there are a couple of final ones that do need to be done, and that will be done in its entirety on July 19th, and then we just need to wait and see when we're gonna be reimbursed. Hopefully, we'll have those funds in time for the October town meeting. They can be considered an available fund.
Okay.
Number 5, follow-up from the last meeting, there was a notice that had been received from CHAPA concerning availability of a affordable housing unit where the town has right of first refusal. I've since been in contact with the director of the housing authority. They have no interest in the property, so given that, I think it's appropriate to notify them that the town will not be exercising its first right of refusal. As you know, the town has certain legal rights that does protect its interests in that property, protect the affordability rights in that property, so unless you have any objections, we'll notify it and move this issue forward. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Old and new business? Steve?
The only thing is, I would just ask residents to check on their neighbors, particularly those who are senior citizens, and time of meet here in relation to this heat wave, make sure people are, cool and hydrated and okay. So just check on them regularly if you can, and that would be appreciated, I'm sure. Other than that, nothing else, Mr. Chairman.
Just a question, the power outage this afternoon was short-lived, I gather.
It was. It was resolved shortly, sometime around 3 o'clock.
Because I know that it was fairly broad, Linfield had a power outage. Was this an accident, or is this
No,
an
it was
overload
an issue
of the?
related to a substation, the one
What?
substation behind the Department of Public Works.
Mhm.
We thought it was gonna be a lengthy outage, turned out that it wasn't.
Thank God.
No, I was just concerned about, heavy load for air conditioners typically.
Mm.
Is that a sign of things to come, or is it just some incident that, don't know? That's it, Steve?
That's it.
Mike?
I'm good.
John?
I just have a question regarding trash pickup.
Yes.
Apparently, I wasn't the only one who missed the ad in the transcript alerting people that trash pickup was going to be today.
Right.
Unlike typically as it's been done on a Monday holiday where it's on a Wednesday. And I believe notification went out some time ago that it would be on a Wednesday and a Monday holiday. If I misread it, then someone correct me, but I think it
Calendar?
caused.
No, there was a special notice, though, on that.
Yeah, I didn't see it either.
I
I know
don't
there's
see
a
it.
special notice and transcript, and although I read it cover to cover, I missed that one
Yeah,
particular notice.
it was a bit unclear.
I did
And I,
It was
just
a
by
bit-
driving down streets this morning, I would be surprised if DPW did not get a lot of calls today. I
They
know we
did.
received a couple of calls indicating that. why
Well,
was
Linda
trash
was
pickup
getting a
today?
ton of calls
We did.
this morning.
So, I don't know if that can be dealt with in terms of the, obviously it can't be corrected.
It's
today.
kind of strange. Why,
Why?
though? The
It
question.
wasn't considered to be a legal holiday, because the holiday, for the trash collection or the trash hauler, it wasn't defined as a holiday.
Oh, so that's why.
What notice, other than in the transcript, was there of trash pickup being
I
today?
think there was notice that might have gone out with the trash assessment, the last.
There was a
round
new
of bills.
schedule, that's
Yeah,
where I saw it.
that's what I
It was
have. I
a-
have
Yeah,
the
it was-
schedule,
Yeah, and the trash bill.
and it's on there.
So it was, but admittedly, the notice that was in the paper was not sufficient. I read it, I had to read it twice to understand what it was trying to say.
I didn't even see it, so.
You know what got me was I didn't get my stuff out, not because I didn't know, but they came by even earlier
Yeah,
this
because no
morning.
one had their stuff out.
Yeah, that's maybe, yeah, right.
Let's
So I-
start at 4.
I made sure, I put it out the night
It's gonna be a
before.
hot day, we're gonna be done by 10 AM. No, I just.
So by the time I got to North Reading and got the
Better
garage cleaned out, it was too late.
Yeah, we did a lot.
But, you know, I noticed in my neighborhood, there were a lot of barrels out, but they were all emptied.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
normally
went up
the,
early.
normally the paper pickup, the recycling comes
That's
real
early,
early,
yeah.
but the trash was gone
Depends on what
too.
neighborhood you're in. In my neighborhood, it's the opposite. The regular
Yeah,
trash gets
well,
picked up and the
Yeah,
recycling
right, it
gets later.
depends on your
Depends
neighborhood.
But, so
Anyway,
going forward,
it'll last another week.
Yeah.
Next week, they'll be late because
there'll be a lot of pickups.
there'll be a lot of pickups.
that's-
Anything else?
That's all I had. You know, once again, I thank everyone for their efforts in terms of the water emergency. Continue complying with the mandatory no watering of your lawns, and hopefully we can get through this crisis in a short period of time.
I had the same experience, I think, as Sean did. I did call the DPW, spoke with Mark, and he explained everything to me, and I said, geez, how did I miss it? But I guess that's what happens. We're creatures of habit sometimes. But also, I want to thank the DPW for doing a great job, and the town administrator for doing a super job with being proactive on the water emergency that we're going through. And I also want to thank North Reading United for Education, who did a superb job in reaching out to an area that perhaps maybe to people we might have missed. And of course, the residents of our wonderful town who really came through. It seemed to be a great community effort to overcome this situation. So kudos to everybody. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'm just gonna say ditto to all of that, rather than repeat it one more time. Just for board information is, Mike and I and Greg met with Dick Carnevale this morning for our second meeting, talking about wastewater. And we're moving that thing
Third meeting.
along. And we'll bring it to, you know, the visibility of the whole board at an appropriate time. Second is the financial planning team is meeting Friday, and it'll be our first meeting with new membership. New membership being new superintendent of schools, Kathleen Willis, and our new vice chair of the school committee is
Karen.
It's Karen.
Karen. No, I'm trying to.
Don't go for the last
Eric
name.
Eric
Ericetti.
Eric Ketty. So, they both, as far as I know, plan on being there. We will be reviewing, just for an agenda, we're gonna do a recap of the end of the fiscal year. Just kind of take an accounting of where we ended up. And we're going to spend some time on contract negotiating strategy by reviewing the work of the FAC, that
Okay.
spreadsheet.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
We're gonna be talking a little bit about future contract negotiation, and we're gonna be reviewing the work of the FAC in their contract spreadsheet, where they compare all the contracts and the various benefits, so.
I have some large printouts if you want them. I have maybe 2 or 3 available.
I can print, if you have them,
It's
fine.
tough to print. I had to have it specially printed, so.
Well,
I could at least
have
bring one to
a
you.
wider
Fine
printer,
print.
but,
Yeah, I
Wasn't
yeah,
reader's
right,
digest,
real
right?
fine
It
print.
I got a bigger
Reader's
one, so
digest.
yeah,
you
no,
can
if
read.
you, if you could drop them off, that'd be great.
I'll do that for you.
Other than that, it's we're in a long, hot summer spell, and hopefully everyone will stay safe. And I think Steve's comments about looking out for your elderly neighbors is a very good thing to do. So with that, I'll entertain a motion. We need an executive session.
Purposes of collective bargaining strategy.
Mr. Chairman, I move to enter into executive session for the purpose of collective bargaining strategy and further, the Board of the Selectmen will return to open session for the sole purpose of adjournment.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Prisco, second by Mr. O'Leary. Mr. O'Leary?
Aye.
Mr. Prisco?
Aye.
Mr. Delaney?
Aye.
Mr. Yule?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. All right.
Do we have a,